Cults and the occult. Let's talk about it. Jon Atack's new book, If Scientology Ruled the World, Nazi Occultists, Sex Magic, Space Aliens, and the Second Coming. A long clickbaity title, something like I'd use for a video. But it is good. What we're discussing here is the origins of occult beliefs, those believed by the Nazis, Scientology, and modern New Age religions. And if you've seen a video on the Nazi and the occult, some of them are good, some of them are better than others, but a good one always starts with Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Born in Ukraine, Russian Empire, Russian but of German extraction. She was wealthy, she was a legit Von in the aristocracy, and she had a huge library of occult information that she says she got from her grandfather. And a lot of what she says has to be taken with a grain of salt. Later she was accused of mental illness and fabricating a whole bunch of adventures, but she moved to the United States in she wrote ISIS Unveiled in 1877. It's like 1,500 pages. And then The Secret Doctrine in 1888. This is after she moved to America in 1873. She was born in 1831. And she founded an occult group called Theosophy, which really caught on and went global. And a lot of wealthy, bored, semi-intellectuals were in it. You know, the 19th century, what we call the New Age now, really started then in the 19th century. If you've ever accidentally checked out a New Age book at the library because you're trying to read the whole religion section, as I was, and then you read it and it's like, it's talking about the masters of Tibet and the spiritual lines and vibrations, and it has all of these footnotes, and it just speaks as if this stuff is totally true, and it uses Buddhist language and symbols, but it's misusing them. It's not, it's kind of the opposite of Buddhism. You've got this reincarnation and souls and whatnot. Where do they get this shit? This is just like a different reality. Well, it all comes from Madame Blavatsky. Let me find a picture of her. But spooky looking lady, piercing eyes. But she claimed to be in contact with spiritual masters that were helping the human race grow towards enlightenment. Her first book dealt with magic and Egypt, you know, ISIS Unveiled. But the second one switched to a more Buddhist, Hindu-based thing, but mainly she's borrowing terms and symbols, but it's not really that at all. It's a whole new thing with all of this history to it, and her history goes back not only millions, but billions of years, and all this stuff, and it's just totally made up. Some of it in trances, she would just come up with this stuff. And she came up with the idea of the Aryan race, which was the 4th or 5th root race. Hell, it doesn't matter. And they were from Atlantis, and they interbreeded with lower animals, and it caused the lower apes we see are all the result of human breeding with animals, and it caused the loss of their spiritual powers over time. And this became very popular, and they still use the same style in the New Age with the footnotes and the total certainty thing. But when this got to Germany, it was adopted and very popular in various cults that were founded, and they just renamed with German names all the things she was talking about and made it very racist, very German-centered. And once they got into it, they didn't even look back to where it came from. Like the Ostara magazine, which was allegedly one of Hitler's favorites. He even went to attain back numbers at one point, but that's when you would get all this Aryan Superman garbage. And Well, let's back up. It's like, the reason Jon Atack is an expert in Scientology, and he has a great YouTube channel. I watch it all the time. And he wrote the book, Let's Sell These People a Piece of Blue Sky, which is on Scientology, and he's gotten hundreds of people out of it. He's one of the lead experts on it. And I watch his channel a lot, and the other one I watch is the Steve Hassan. He's a cult expert. He wrote the book, The Cult of Trump. But cults are very common in empires that are collapsing. The Roman mystery cults were some of the first that I got interested in. In high school, I was taking mythology and reading Joseph Campbell's books, and I was into Jungian philosophy. Youth is wasted on young. I no longer am into Jungian psychology, but I wouldn't totally recommend Joseph Campbell's books either. But these Roman mystery cults, and then America's awash in cults, but the German Hungarian Habsburg Empire was collapsing, and it had multiple races in it. The Germans were the privileged upper class, and they made up only a third of the population, and they became very nervous, scared, conspiratorial, and racist. And they used this occultism to postulate that they are the chosen people, but also even the Aryans had been damaged by the inbreeding with lower animals. So what Himmler, head of the SS, wanted to do was rebreed the Aryans in a hothouse fashion by selecting the best specimens to breed from it. Now, they knew nothing of real genetics. They had not discovered the molecule or anything. So they looked at it from more of a blood and soil breeding type of thing. But the German racists also, they put everybody who spoke German into the folk. And it just shows the desperation. There's nothing more desperate than privileged people who feel they're under attack. They get all conspiratorial like this. We see it over and over again in human civilization. But this stuff got out of control. As one occult group, the Tula Society, actually decided to found a political party. And that party eventually became, very quickly, the Nazi Party. And several Nazi higher-ups were in that group, or at least attended it. And I am way off base. Let me get back to some semblance of a script here. So the Enlightenment came along, 17th, 18th centuries, and a lot of intellectuals and scientists obviously had a lot of doubts in Christianity. But that doubt didn't really hit the mass of plebs until the 1900s, where you had like the Industrial Revolution, you had electricity and all this, and then the Fox sisters in New York started talking to the dead, and it was a scam, they admitted later, but it went global. And so spiritualism was born, and Theosophy stepped into that, and she would formulate these elaborate theories of history of the world, and people were just totally buying it. This was common stuff in the 19th century. They all wanted to appear scientific, but she called it a mix of science, philosophy, and religion. And they wanted to appear scientific, but it's just a load of crap. Absolutely made up. Pulled right out of her ass. Now, it is true that the Nazi Party was formed by occultists, members of the secret society who believed in magic and practiced rituals. I'm quoting from the book now. One problem with this book is the pages just pop right out. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. This is an example of bad printing. You might want to get the electronic version. Aleister Crowley is from this world. And Ron Hubbard practiced very similar. He looked up to Aleister Crowley. He summoned, did magic and stuff, and it's all connected. In the 19th century, Mormonism has a lot more magic in its origins, but they had some pseudo history there. Christian Science, and used some of the mesmerism that you know, and people just believed it. But you know, the reason I was interested in Scientology, though, is my dad audited me when I was 4 years old, hooked me up to an e-meter and audited me, get the thetans out or whatever. But he never got up to the upper echelons of the OT operating thetans. I don't guess he made it past 3, because he, from what he explains. But that got me interested in it. Obviously, his thinking is very magical, and I thought, does this come from Scientology, or is he just mentally ill? It's certainly true that a lot of people believe things that are told to them with confidence. They don't have much of a bullshit detector. I mean, these people would go into trances and tell them things, and for some reason people would believe. And, you know, it's interesting with Steve Hassan, you know, he's a good cult expert now, but he got into the Moonies and totally believed it. And he's on the spectrum. He's in kind of denial. He hasn't been tested yet, but he is. And he's remarkably he's easy to believe things. He's very naive, even today. And a lot of people on the spectrum are, and they'll just believe anything they're told. There's no bullshit detector, because it has to do with theory of mind limits that they have. But anyway, so basically, without going too deep, I had planned a lot more. There's some very good videos on YouTube I'd like to point out. There's a Eugenics. This also touches on eugenics a great deal. And there's a documentary on eugenics from an American perspective from 2018 that's called A Dangerous Idea. I will link to it. It is must watch, because this eugenics is, of course, horrible. It's amazing how many people believe in it, even scientists. And it's low key, but it's everywhere today. And then and there's a good documentary on the National Socialist religion, which is all this crap, by Tick, the war reporter. He does excellent Stalingrad stuff. That's a good one. Sums it all up in like 24 minutes. And then there is a 2.5-hour documentary by Ember Green, I believe it is, and it goes into eugenics and occultism, and it's just a tour de force. She's one of the best YouTubers out there. And I might link some other videos as well, but it's just but why study this stuff in the first place, I guess, is a fair question, because I am an atheist, scientific skeptic, hardcore. Well, it's because it is so damaging to society. When you believe absurdities, you will come up with ideas to do things like, not everybody in the Nazi Reich was as very influenced by this stuff at all and didn't believe it. But when your policy is influenced by it, the decision to invade the Soviet Union up to the Ural Mountains was impacted by the fact that, well, the Aryans come from over there, it belongs to us, and we are the master race, and the Slavs were meant here to serve us and be our slaves. We're going to kill them off and invade the Soviet Union. Now, they had other theories. They also believed that, you know, communism was a Jewish conspiracy against the white man. But these horrible decisions were made under the influence of bad occultic ideas. And you can follow the history of these ideas over time, where they mutate and they combine with other ideas. And if you look back to the beginning of them, you can see them more clearly. Because anybody who gets involved in this stuff, they take it for granted that that's the way it is. They never look back and say, you know, where'd that idea originally come from? You know, I mean, it can't be that old. You know, and in most cases, the answer is Madame Blavatsky. Okay. And then it would mutate all around the world. The Germans just made it really, really racist, changed all the names to German. And you know, schizophrenic people will grab this and run with it. They'll reinvent, they'll add things. And it's just amazing that New Age religion exists, and it is basically unchanged. So they've got something that resonates at least with the mentally unsound, I guess. But at any rate, what else did I want to touch on? Yeah, that eugenics, it needs to be studied to realize that it's all bullshit. Because you might think, well, genetics is a thing now. Maybe they know what they're doing and they can control for traits. No, they have no idea. And in the video on Aspie Supremacy by Amber Green, she you know, talks about Aspie Supremacy and how some Aspies believe they are genetically superior. But that idea is not going to fly with the general population, because anybody can see that these billionaires that we have, the 24 of them that are autistic, are some of the most dangerous people in the world right now, with nobody to contradict their internal ideas. They're cranking out self-serving nonsense, like, you know, Peter Thiel's talking about the Antichrist. They're talking about AI is going to save us. So this kind of nonsense is the same type of shit. It's just, and these autistic billionaires, again, most dangerous that we have today, and clearly off their rocker, and everybody can see that. So I don't think anybody, any reasonable, well-balanced, neurotypical person would say that even high-functioning autism doesn't have major drawbacks, especially when it comes to bullshit detection and being well-balanced, having theory of mind, and fact-testing ideas. And these billionaires have cold-heartedly, through their propagated ideas that are just going to benefit their self-interest at the to our own downfall, the whole civilization going down. They just want to get theirs. They're self-centered, simple-minded, black and white thinking. I don't have that going on, but I have other drawbacks. It's never autism's never a total win. But any kind of supremacy, we don't know. Who's to say what kind of personality would actually be better? I mean, it's another reason that eugenics is so dumb. But anyway, watch these videos I'm gonna link. I added the candle because, you know, it's occultism. But yeah, Blavatsky. Okay.